Hey guys, it is NCS Fan 001 here for another one of those weekly trophy list updates. Today's date is Monday, September 16th, 2024. So this will have covered the week of September the 9th through the 15th of 2024. This was a pretty productive week overall. I'm definitely happy with the progress that was made. Got one platinum trophy and some progress in other games. But I did want to point out one quick thing that I've been sort of neglecting to mention for some reason because I keep forgetting about it. Expect to see Power Wash Simulator pop back up again pretty soon because sometime this fall we are getting a Shrek DLC with 5 new levels. So that's of course going to be fun. Can't wait to do some more power washing, though I do wish that they would only do PS5 versions moving forward. Along with that, apparently there are more announcements coming out about there being a Minecraft PS5 version. I don't know yet when/if I'm going to end up doing that. I mean, I probably will at some point because I'm sure there'll be trophy worlds and stuff for it if I don't really want to go through all of it again. But anyway, in terms of actual trophy progress this week, it was in 4 different games, and we will start off with the one platinum I got this week, Astro's Playroom. So this was a fantastic game, had a lot of fun with it. This is not the brand new Astrobot game, this is not even really the original, but this is the one that came with the PS5 upon release, and it's a lot of fun, and it's a pretty quick and easy platinum trophy. Plus, I've got my little Astrobot plushie now, and he is very cute. He is currently sitting here staring at the TV, laying on the couch. Anyway, for the Platinum Trophy, it's nothing particularly hard. You can do it in about 3 to 4 hours, plus there's also some DLC after that. Well, I don't even know if you need like 4 hours. I'm sure you could do it a little bit faster if you actually really know what you're doing. So for the Platinum, you have to clear all of the areas. Basically, it's divided into 4 areas, each of which is divided into 4 sub-areas. So basically like 16 total levels you have to get through to get all of these silver trophies. Then you have to find collectibles. There are artifacts and puzzle pieces. So those are your 2 main types of collectibles. So with the artifacts, there's like 2 per level, so a grand total of, I guess, 32 total throughout the main part of the game, not counting what you get from the gacha machine. So find all of the artifacts and you will get all the silver trophies. Then there's several more that you get in the PlayStation Labo. Those are the ones, the PS Labo is the hub world, and those are the ones that you get from the gacha machine, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Then you have puzzle pieces. There are 4 of those in each level, so quite a few more puzzle pieces total in the game. And then there are more of those in the gacha machine, so there's something like, I want to say it's 28 pieces that are in the gacha machine. I can't remember how many artifacts, maybe about 10 artifacts, and then 28 of the puzzle pieces within the machine, so quite a few items you have to get out of that, but we'll get to that again here in just a second, because there are several trophies related to the gacha machine, which is basically like a capsule machine or orb machine, whatever you want to call it, sort of like a claw machine, but for the most part you're guaranteed to get a prize and there's no repeats in it. Though I will say it is a little bit annoying because sometimes you'll get a can, like an empty soda can that just gets thrown away and doesn't give you anything, and it costs 100 coins per pull. So there's also these secret gachas and just other gacha prizes. There's a whole bunch of those you have to pull out as well that decorate the PlayStation Labo hub world. And you have to get every single prize out of the machine. I don't believe you have to get the extra ones that are related to the PS5 that come up like after you've gotten everything else out of the machine. I don't think you have to get those. Now we start getting to some miscellaneous trophies. So 10 bots flying with a single spin attack. Basically for this one, you want to just run around in the hub world and hit a bunch of, bots that are just standing there minding their own business. You just got to beat them up while you're in the little hub area, get them all to follow you, and then once you've got a whole bunch of them following you, hold the square button to charge up a spin attack, and then spin into all of them, and you'll get this trophy. This one, pretty much the same thing, just punch a bunch of them until they start following you around and get 20 of them at once. Then you have a bunch that are just related to interacting with certain objects within the Labo area. So for this one, you just have to push the PlayStation logo on the PS2, because if you guys don't remember it, you used to be able to spin the PlayStation logo on those consoles because you could put the console, you can mount it sideways instead of horizontally, so vertically I guess would be the correct word. Then with this one, there are several trophies that are laying out in the Labo area, so you just have to pick up any one of them with square. That's pretty easy. So for this one, just punch the PSVR headset and look through it for like a couple of seconds and you'll get this one. This trophy, just you have to climb all the way to the end of the aim controller, which you can't really do this until you have all of the hanging controllers unlocked because you have to use them as a little bit of a bridge, so there's 3 or 4 that you have to get along with this one. And then with the PlayStation Home icon, this one actually took me longer than I expected because it was literally the last artifact I got out of the gacha machine was the PlayStation Home icon, but then it appears near the PS3, just walk under it. PlayStation Home, that's quite a bit of a throwback, and it's a pretty rare 100% these days because it got shut down after a while and you had to do like 50 different days you had to play on it or something ridiculous like that. Then with this one, you just have to jump and hover over the lid opening button, whatever you want to call it, the open-close button. So now we get into some of the level-specific trophies. So you have to juggle a ball 5 times with a frog suit. This is done toward the end of, I believe, the cooling springs area is when you get the frog suit. It's sort of like the spring mushroom from Mario Galaxy. So just hit the ball up in the air and then just keep bouncing under it until it bounces 5 times. Pretty self-explanatory, nothing too hard there. This one is also in the cooling springs. There's like 3 diving boards when you get to the second part of it. Just dive off the biggest one and you'll get this trophy. For this one, I'm shocked I didn't get this one. When you get to the very end of the final portion of the cooling springs, right before you pull the plug thing out that ends the world, well, ends the world isn't really the right word, but just ends the level. Before you touch that, just jump into one of the fountains that are flowing next to the path and you'll get this trophy. This one, basically what you have to do is you have to hold the square button while on an ice platform, and while you're doing your longer term spin, your charge spin, just jump 3 times and you'll get this one. For this one, you have to go into Memory Meadow, which is one of the first areas I went to. There's a rainy portion of it, and you'll have like an umbrella out. You just have to stand underneath the bus station looking structure. This one is probably going to come naturally. In fact, it happened to me several times while I was trying to clean up the trophies during the second stream. You'll most likely get hit by something just by walking around, if not while on one of the tight ropes. This one, there's a little bowling area. Well, not really area, but it's when you go into ball form, so it's like rolling on the ball in Mario Galaxy. And there's a time where you have to knock down a bunch of pins, so knock down all of them at once to get the strike and get this trophy done. By the way, there's nothing missable. You can go back and replay every level as much as you need to. This one is also, I believe, in Memory Meadows. Basically, at one point, you're going to end up getting a bow and arrow, and you're going to use that to knock one of the projectiles out of the air. You do die in one hit in this game, so keep that in mind. Like, checkpoints and everything are very generous, and for the most part, everything's easy to kill, but you do die in a single hit for the most part. Then make a huge snowball. This is done at the very end of the Memory Meadows. You basically just roll around one of the couple of snowballs that's laying there until it gets big enough to unlock the trophy. This one is done in GPU Jungle. I don't think I did it in the area you're supposed to do it. I did it in the final portion of the level, but it wasn't anything too terribly difficult. You just had to get up far enough and then drop down far enough. 99 feet isn't really that far in this game. This one at the very end of the Mountain Peak area in the GPU Jungle, so it's the very end of this level. There's like 10 different rabbits that are going to be jumping around. Hit each of them with an arrow and you'll get this trophy. Then this one is when you go into the space-themed level. I can't remember which one it was called, but at one point you're going to get access to a machine gun, so just start shooting the gun, and while you're doing that, hold the square button to do the spin attack, and you'll get this trophy. I think that was actually the last one I got for Platinum. This one should come naturally at some point just by beating up a few enemies. That can be done in any area of the game. And then you have this one. There is a little sign you can punch that's right underneath the entrance to the PlayStation Labo. Punch it a few times and it'll change back to, I guess, the old logo from the PS1. And you will get this trophy. So nothing much to worry about with the Platinum, like I said. The DLC is a little bit trickier, I will say. And actually, I'm going to skip the first DLC for now. This game actually got a second DLC that released much later on. It released much closer to Astrobot coming out, and then not all of the trophies were even obtainable at first because they kept dropping these every few weeks. So there are 4 special bots now, one in each of the 4 areas, and you have to go and find them. So the one in GPU Jungle, this is the Bloodborne one. Basically, you have to find it, and then you have to go input a date on a clock of when either the game released or when the DLC released, which was a pretty neat idea. The game makes great use of everything with the PlayStation, from that clock to blowing into the controller, to the haptic feedback. It does everything so well. It's a great game, and I can't wait to experience Astro. I'm going to be getting that for my birthday in a few weeks, so I'll be playing it sometime in October. Cannot wait for that. Then Memory Meadow, this is the Ape Escape one. This one, once you reveal it, you then have to do some QuickTime events, but the game doesn't really tell you what the QuickTime events are. You are probably going to need to look at a guide for that one. Then this one is, I believe this is the one where you just have to stand in a specific spot and you'll get it. I believe it's a Returnal reference, and you just have to stand in a specific spot and get killed there by the little green ranged shooty aliens, enemies, whatever you want to call them. And then finally, the Cooling Springs, when you have to stand on a bunch of starfish in a specific order, and then you have to punch a specific shell and then input a code. So yeah, some of this stuff, I don't know how people figured out a few of these, because some of these are actually pretty well hidden with how much you have to go through to do them. And then you get this silver trophy once you find your 4th bot, but with a guide, you can knock all these out within half an hour, so it's not much of a problem. Now, for the first DLC, this one came out much earlier in the game's life cycle, and this is definitely the hardest set of trophies in the game. So this trophy is pretty easy. Basically, you want to get a whole bunch of the bots to follow you in the hub area, and then just punch the glass with the giant CPU, GPU chip, whatever it is, and it'll come up and try to punch you, and it'll send everyone flying, and you'll knock out this trophy pretty easily. These 2 trophies, though, are the harder ones, so clear the game and got the new generation artifacts. Once you have beaten those 4 areas, you'll gain access to another little segment with a boss fight against a T-Rex. And a lot of people apparently have some trouble with that fight, but I got through it in 2 tries, so I don't know if it's just because I grew up on playing platformers and stuff. Because I'm seeing that a lot with Astro. A lot of people are saying that they think it's a lot harder than a 3 out of 10. Just because I guess maybe they didn't grow up with platformers, or maybe weren't expecting it to have some of that challenge to it. So I'll be curious to see what happens with that, but once you do that, just get through that boss fight and everything and through the credit sequence, and you should be good to go with this trophy. And finally, you have the speedrun trophy. This one I thought was going to be a lot harder than it was. Basically, you have 8 speedrun levels that you can do, and you have to get a total time between them in under 7 minutes. So you don't have to do them all like in a row perfectly or anything like that. Just get your best time, your combined best time from all 8 levels down to under 7 minutes. I did this without a whole lot of trouble. I mean, I had to replay maybe 1 or 2 of the speed runs, and I got it after that, so it really wasn't all that bad. So, again, I don't know if it's because I grew up sort of more on platformers and stuff like that with Mario and all, but who knows. But for me, it really wasn't too terribly difficult, so I look forward to Astro. And yeah, that was a great game, had a lot of fun with that, and can't wait for the next one. So then we have Resident Evil 4 on the PS4. I decided to get started on it. So currently I'm doing my first playthrough, which is a collect everything and do as much of the miscellaneous stuff as possible. So parrying with the knife is pretty much unmissable, upgrading a weapon's unmissable. Exclusive upgrade I was able to do early because I have the exclusive upgrade tickets, the golden tickets from the PlayStation Store. Then the request for the merchant, just do any of those, but you have to do all of them for a different trophy. Then you have to rescue Ashley while she's being carried away. That's basically unmissable because Ashley's so stupid. Then destroy the Clockwork Castellans. There's one of those per chapter, and you have to destroy all of them for a different trophy. This is an unmissable story-related trophy, as is this one. Then I believe the rest of the hidden trophies here are story-related. Well, technically, Vertigo, you can technically skip him. You can avoid killing him, but we will be killing him, or I will be killing him, so those are all story trophies, technically. 3 enemies at once with a flash grenade. You can do this against the Plagas heads, or you can do it against the crows in, like, Chapter 3 in the El Gigante arena. This one is best done against the very first Gyarados because you're only fighting him and no other enemies, and you can just stab him like 4 times and you'll get it. Haven't gotten to the Regenerator room yet, so that's a little bit later. This is a boss fight specific trophy, but I got plenty of grenades for it. Then the cannon to defeat a Zealot. This one's pretty much unmissable because you have to use it to take down not only the door, but also the catapults. Haven't gotten to the minecart section yet, or the clock tower section. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the clock tower section perfectly here, because this one's pretty tough to do without the rocket launcher, or at least a really heavily upgraded shotgun, from what I remember. This is in the very final chapter of the game. This one, there's specific treasures you have to do with this one. It's like the Royal Crown, or whatever it's called, I believe is the one you get this one from. Then you have to find all the treasures in the game, in each area of the game within a single playthrough. I've done everything in the village, because I'm currently on like chapter 8-ish of the game. You don't have to find the extended map treasures that were from like the special edition of the game or whatever it was, so don't worry about those. Obtaining all the weapons, this was technically the hardest trophy in the game because it initially requires you to do an S+ playthrough on professional difficulty, but you no longer have to do that. You do still have to beat the game on professional, but it can be a New Game Plus, which makes it significantly easier because then you can use the rocket launcher and everything. Nowadays, you can get that last weapon, the hand cannon, simply by playing all of the mercenary stages and getting a decent score on them. Complete all requests from the merchant in a single playthrough. Destroy all the Clockwork Castellans. That one can be done, I believe, over the course of multiple playthroughs. And then you're going to have to complete Hardcore mode with an S+ to knock out all 4 of these trophies. Then this is the one for completing the game on Professional, which again, I think you can do it in New Game Plus. You just can't do that with the S+ rank. You can only get an S rank, I believe, is the highest. Complete the story within 8 hours is going to come naturally on one of the future playthroughs. Then I have to complete the game without using a recovery item, using only knives and handguns, and without talking to the merchant. That's probably going to be a combination of 2 different playthroughs to get all 3 of those trophies. And then just finishing the stuff at the shooting range. Of course, I've only seen 1 of those so far in my current playthrough, so a little ways to go on that. Separate Ways has 3 unmissable story-related trophies, and then 3 trophies simply for completing it on Professional mode. So if you play through it on Professional mode on like your first playthrough, or no, I don't think you're supposed to do that. I think you do it on Standard for your first playthrough, then Professional. But you do have to beat it on Professional with an S+, which is fairly difficult compared to the base game, because the time limit's pretty strict on this one, and you do have to do it without New Game Plus. But you can use the exclusive upgrade tickets with the Chicago Sweeper, Chicago Typewriter, whatever you want to call it. Makes it noticeably easier, but the DLC is definitely going to be the hardest part of the game for me, at least it was on the PS5 version. And finally, we have Star Wars The Clone Wars. I started streaming this on Saturday, I believe it was, and this game is really boring. Now, I think I would have liked this as a kid, but this game has not aged very well. It's not particularly fun to play. It's a little bit buggy, its controls are weird, its graphics are not bad when you consider it came out in like 2002 on the PS2, but not the biggest fan of the game overall. It also graphically glitched out and then crashed on me on like the 5th chapter when I was trying to stream this on Saturday, so that's why I went and just played Resident Evil 4 instead. So the Platinum Trophy is pretty easy. It's really just the fact that the game is such a product of its age, especially in the ground combat portions when you're playing as a Jedi. Those portions are terrible. It just does not control well at all. So in terms of the trophies, you're going to get 16 trophies simply for completing the game. There are 16 missions. So far I've completed 12, and I've basically been playing both versions. I'll complete a few levels from one version, then switch over to the other version and keep my progress pretty close on them, just since everything's going to be fresh in my mind at any given time. So finish the game will get you a big chunk of your trophies. I have 4 more missions to go. Then you have to complete bonus objectives. Now there are 3 per chapter for a total of 48, and you only have to finish 30 of them, which means you can do 30 of the easier ones. You may want to have a guide pulled up because some of them require you to find certain items or enemies that are way off the beaten path. For example, in like the 2nd level of the game, you have to destroy all of the turrets on the level, but there's one that's completely out in the middle of nowhere where you'd never actually go during a normal playthrough. So just keep that in mind, but you only have to find 30 of them. You can do them over the course of multiple runs of different missions, which is really nice. So nothing too much to worry about with that. You should get this around the 12th or 13th level of the game. Then you have to defeat 100 enemies with Mace Windu while on foot. I have not earned this trophy on the other version of the game yet. So this was the PS4 version, right? Yep. So I've earned this on the PS4 version. I have not yet gotten this on the PS5 version because I had to replay the first level when I was figuring the game out. So this one apparently will come naturally though, because there's another mission where you use Mace Windu near the end of the game. The Anakin one is not going to come naturally simply because you don't play as Anakin on the ground all that often. There's only a couple of missions where you do, and apparently there's going to be an easier way to farm this in the multiplayer mode, but I will look into that a little bit later. We'll see what kind of progress I have once I finish the game. Then you have to defeat 300 enemies while piloting vehicles. This one's basically unmissable just by beating the game because you're going to be using vehicles so often. Squad commands, basically on certain missions you're going to be able to issue commands with the directional pad. Just issue 25 total throughout your playthrough and you're good to go on this trophy, pretty straightforward. These 2 trophies are both unmissable and story related. They will both be unlocked by the time you finish the 12th level of the game. The power-ups, there's like 5 different kinds of power-ups, I believe. There's the health pack, there's the ammo refill, there's invincibility, there's a super blaster, and there might be like one other one. Or that might actually be all of them. It might only be like 4 of them. And then this one you can't do until you've found 30, or until you've completed 30 of the bonus objectives. Once you finish 30, you'll have both of these abilities, or not even abilities, just secrets unlocked from the options bonus menu. And then you can go ahead and knock out both of those trophies pretty quickly. And then a very self-explanatory defeat 1 enemy for the last trophy. The PS5 version, like I said, I've been playing through it sort of alongside this other version, just slowly working through it. The trophy progress has been basically the same, aside from not yet having the Mace Windu trophy, but I will have that apparently in like mission 15 or something, so I'm not too worried about that. And then it's just the Anakin trophy and everything else is done. So I will have this game double platinum pretty soon. Again, not like the worst game I've ever played, but definitely not one of my favorites of these old school classic games. You can still use the rewind feature, by the way. It's a little bit harder to make it work on the PS2 games. You have to go into the menu and change a couple settings around, but it's nothing too bad. So let's go ahead and sync up trophies. So, level 881, 6%, 29,200 total trophies, 839 platinums, 5,608 golds, 7,839 silvers, 14,914 bronzes. So, plans for the upcoming week. I mean, it's just been kind of weird now that I've gotten all these Call of Duty games done, so I'm in a bit of a lull on that because I can't just, go back and do those in my free time because most of them are now done. So, plans for this week are, of course, to finish both versions of Star Wars. That won't take too long at all, maybe another 2 hours to get everything done, so shouldn't be a problem. And then, of course, keep working on Resident Evil 4. I don't think I'll have the Platinum done by the end of this week, but I should be getting fairly close as long as nothing else comes up. Other than that, though, I don't really know what I'm going to be playing this week on streams or anything. There's a good chance it would be more Resident Evil 4, just because that's an easy thing to set up and stream. Once I get through this first playthrough with all the collectibles, then I can just focus on, a playthrough with handgun only and knife only and no merchant or whatever I want to do. So we will figure that out for the future, but I don't think it'll be too much of a problem. So along with that, I don't really know what else I do want to play at the moment, and I also don't know exactly what my schedule is going to look like this week, because my parents are going to be here for the weekend, not a long weekend this time, just the Friday-Saturday part of it. So they're down here for a football game, and aside from that, that'll take up some of Friday and Saturday. I don't know exactly if I'll be streaming both of those days, probably like one of those days, and definitely at least one other earlier day in the week. Also, the Modern Warfare 3 trophy video is released. It came out on Sunday, so that means I can get started working on the Dead Rising 2 video. That one may take a little while to put together, but I'll try to rush through it sort of the way I did with the Modern Warfare 3 video. Not really rush through it, but just sort of prioritize it, I guess would be the proper wording. Because I think I did pretty well with the Modern Warfare 3 video. I think I put that one together reasonably well for what the game was. And then there's also going to be a video for Black Ops Cold War handgun only, condensed run, whatever you want to call it, the mic banning challenge, because for some reason the Modern Warfare 3 version of that actually took off and did pretty well by, normal video standards for me. It got like 500 views in 48 hours, which is definitely better than normal for me. And along with all of that is one last thing. You guys might have noticed that I actually made a bit of a change to the channel logo. We've had the same channel logo since the channel launched all the way back in 2010. So Lizard Guy managed to use some AI to make a new one, and I like the new one a lot better. He's also working on a channel banner. So that's pretty awesome. It's a bit of a change. It might take a little bit of getting used to, but it's different and it definitely looks a lot better. So hope you guys have noticed that and don't mind the changes. So yeah, that should be it for this week's update. So thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe, ring the bell if you haven't done so already. Let me know down in the comments what games you have been working on this past week. And like I said, this week, probably a couple of streams, couple of videos, just working on those handful of games up there. And I will say, I've got a pretty big stream planned for probably the second week of October. So yeah, be looking forward to that. I need to get in contact with someone on X and see if I can get some game codes. But we will have to see about all of that. So thank y'all for watching. See you back here soon, later this week, for more content.